There we go. We're live. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Tim Richardson here. I'm excited to share some of these RV buying tips. So if you're thinking about buying an RV, you are in the right place. If you've already bought one and you don't want to make the same mistake twice, you're in the right place. This is going to be interactive, so we're going to have some fun. Find the chat area. That's the first thing you need to do. Find that. Give us a shout out what city you're watching from. We're going to do some call outs, and as we get everybody in here, we'll get started. Still waiting on a resident expert. So I'm up in Cleveland, Ohio, and my goal is to equip you guys, the owners of RV Wholesalers. I'm not actually on salary there, but they asked me like, hey, Tim, can you take as much information as we can and help these folks? Like, obviously, RV Wholesalers, we can't sell 600,000 RVs this year. So the few thousand that they can sell, they asked me, the owners were school teachers actually, and they have a love for equipping and teaching. And they said, just go out, Tim, and help these folks learn all the inside secrets and tips and tricks, and so that nobody gets ripped off. So that's really frustrating for us to see people being taken advantage of, especially right now when it's easy to do because of the shortage of RVs. So we should have Dalton will jump in here a little bit, answer the tough questions, but the chat area is where you're going to put in your questions as we go through our time. We've got Laverna in Harrisburg, Rita in Greenville, South Carolina. Greetings, guys. I know there's quite a few people. As you find the chat, give us a little shout. But anyways, I want to get started. We have a lot to cover. Navigate the rapids with 8 important buying tips. Let's dive in. So the reason, I don't know how many of you guys like to go whitewater rafting or have gone whitewater rafting. It's fresh in my mind. Just got to do that this summer. But I feel like my goal is to be the guide, and we'll get help from some of the other guys. But we're going to guide you. You guys are in the yellow the helmets, and our goal is to keep you from getting into the rapids and making sure this does not happen. Okay. So that's our goal. So let's dive in. Oh yeah, there's my first RV. So my dad actually built this thing, and up in British Columbia, Canada. And I like to say RVing saved my life because one morning I woke up, I decided not to stay out in the lean-to that you see in the picture there. And I slept in the RV, and big bear prints were all around the campsite. So I have a special place in my heart for RVing. So number 1, shop the out-the-door price. Okay, this is a big deal when you're thinking about buying an RV for sure. Especially right now because prices are all over the board, and you really want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, right? So the only way to do that is ask for the out-the-door price. Make sure you know everything that's included in that price, because as we talk about in just a few minutes, and you can see here the hidden fees, we're going to dive into that. But we want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. You know, like exactly what's included on the sales agreement. It has all the options are on there. You know, what kind of taxes and all these extra fees that we talk about, Doctrine Title, things that they have to charge. But when you're figuring out, is this RV cheaper than this one from this company? That's how there's a big difference a lot of times with these fees. So you want to make sure you know upfront what all those things are going to add up to, so that you can compare apples to apples and really make a good decision. So make sure you shop for the out-the-door price. Dalton, hey, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tim. How you doing?
Doing great. So I billed you as the resident expert. So the folks have found the chat area. They're going to put in questions, and their goal is to stump you, since you've helped a lot of people with RVs over the last few years. And we're excited to have you on here. Saw you down at the Ohio State game.
Yep.
With the big, what was that, a giant fifth wheel down there that you had?
It was Yep, it was an XLR Nitro. It was we got it painted up in Ohio State colors. It's awesome.
That's cool. So, yeah, we're just going to dive in. We just started talking and just getting ready to talk about hidden fees and all the things that go into that. So Real quick, guys, we're going to record this. So we're going to send out a replay about 2 hours after this. You'll get a replay link. You can go back through this, and there'll be a couple little links in there too that will be helpful that we talked about. So you don't have to take crazy notes. And also, as we dive into hidden fees here in just a second, I'm going to put up a one-page PDF download for you. So look over there right about now. It should be popping up. There should be a one-page PDF free download that will have all the hidden fees. So you don't have to like write all these things down furiously. So, man. So Dalton, real quick, we're talking about shopping the out-the-door price. Do you have any other pointers on that? And we'll get into pricing because there's a price increases. We'll talk about that in a minute, and then the hidden fees. But anything as far as comparing, when you're really shopping that you want to add to
that? Without the door pricing, make sure that when you're shopping around with RVs, which, I can't blame you for shopping around because you want to find the best deal. There are a lot of dealerships out there that just take their time getting back to you. And that's sometimes it's kind of shady with dealerships because they're just dragging their feet. Us here, we do our best to get back to you as fast as possible, just because we're upfront and honest about everything. This is where our out the door pricing is. This is what our fees are. There's no hidden fees, and here's what taxes are if that applies to you in your state. And we try to be upfront and honest with you. Where there's some dealerships out there that just drag their feet and take the time and then don't tell you about their fees, and then. Sometimes I was talking to a customer and he says, I was told this dealership, I forget the name of it, but their fees were outrageous. They'll charge you just to hook the trailer to the camper, or just to hook the camper to the truck. They'll charge you a fee just to do that. So sometimes you got to ask about certain other hidden fees aside from what just shows up on the bill, aside from, inspection fees and stuff like that, because sometimes there are dealerships out there that'll hit you with that kind of stuff. So
yeah, a good point. That brings up the kind of the way it flows. So after you put down a deposit and you're waiting for an RV to get prepped and ready for you, whether it's being built and then delivered to the dealership and then delivered to you, or whether it's on site and they have to clean it and get it ready and do all the paperwork. Okay, so they invite you in at the end, and here's kind of the way it flows is they do a walkthrough. Some of them even charge for the walkthroughs, like you're saying, hook up the trailers and do all the stuff. So they take you on a walkthrough. So they get you all excited, like, oh, there's my new trailer. I just waited for this. I just, I had put down the deposit. Now it's here. If you have kids, you bring your kids. They're excited. The dog is there. A lot of times the dogs come and they find their little the little bunk house for them or whatever it is. They pick out their bunk rooms. So everyone's excited, your wife, spouse, whatever. And then after that, they do a walkthrough where they teach you everything about it. So you spend about an hour, whatever it takes. I know, like you guys, it could be whatever time. You bring your camera and you record all the details, how to light the pilot, how to purge the gas line, like everything about camping that you could ever imagine. You'll get a little crash course on that. And it's a great idea just to film that so you don't forget. But then after you get all this excitement, then they say, okay, let's go finish up the paperwork. They take you into the finance room a lot of times. And they sit down, oh, here, sign here, sign here. It's like page 3, page 4, page 5. All of a sudden, you get to page 7 or whatever it is. And there's like, oh, this PDI, that would be $1,400 extra dollars. Then this and this. It's like, what? Like, I was told the price of this was here. And at that point, it's like, what do you do? Yep. I just waited, it's so frustrating because at that point you don't have a lot of choices. Your family's putting pressure on here. You've waited maybe months, if you had this thing custom, picked out for yourself, you waited for months, it's here. And then the sales guy's like, oh, no, I understand. We'll even give you back your deposit, which they didn't used to do that. The last year they started doing that. We'll give it back your deposit. And, no worries. I've got 3 other people, honestly, that would love this. Like if I can call them right now, they'll be down here this afternoon. So don't feel pressure. Like it doesn't hurt us. We'll be able to sell it. It's fine. I understand, the extra fees or a surprise, whatever. They make you feel like I have to take it. or, but that's why I want you guys to put in writing right up front. Put it in writing. Like, this is the price of the RV out the door. If it changes by $1, I get my deposit back. And just make them be upfront with you. Like you said, don't let them stall on things like, oh, how much is that extra fee going to be? Or just be straightforward. And we're going to go into the fees right now. So let's dive in, because you got to know what to ask for and what to look out for, because you're seeing it a lot, I'm sure. Like people. Mm-hmm. So here's some of the hidden fees. Can you explain what PDI is? That's probably the biggest one that people get tripped up on, surprised by.
So PDI is pre-delivery inspection. Basically, when the camper comes from its manufacturer, they're put together pretty quick. There's a wait time right now just because of demand on campers, but when they are put together, they're put together pretty quickly. So the PDI process, every dealership does it. And basically what it is they we go through the camper, and we make sure that it was built correctly. And if you order specific options, those options are on that camper. So say you upgraded the air conditioner, or you put in a theater seating instead of a regular sofa, that kind of thing. Those options are there on top of, say they were installing the refrigerator and they scratched the wall, or they did, just mishandled something and there's a scratch or something in there. We're going to catch that during that inspection. We're going to fix it for you. And that's basically what the pre-delivery inspection is before we deliver it to you and you take possession of the camper. It's clean and ready for you. And it's also a cleaning process. So we clean it, we inspect it, we make sure it's watertight, winterize it. It's always winterized, no matter if it's 100 degrees outside. The camper's winterized because we don't know what you're going to do with it. Maybe you just take it, go put it in storage. You're not going to use it right away, or whatever your plans are with it after that. But
so question for you. Do you think dealers should charge the customer for a PDI? I've never asked you this question.
Should they charge them for it?
Yeah, because it happens a lot.
That's a hard question to answer. I mean, there should be a charge because there's a labor involved there from the dealership. But is it a $1,400 fee? No, because the entire PDI process takes an hour, if that. So, like with us, I believe it's like $250 for the inspection fee. Whereas I know there's a couple of dealerships close to us that's like $1,500 to $2,000. So it just really all depends on.
Guys, you're seeing them do something that's taking an hour or so. Say that, right. And they're charging well over $1,000. Yeah, average I think is 15. Yeah.
It's kind of like getting a brand new lawnmower from Lowe's. You have to put the oil in it, and you have to make sure it's in running condition before it goes to its customer and you start to run it. It's something that has to happen. So it's hard to say that it can be free because there's labor involved.
But the cool thing is that what I think is cool is that the manufacturer, I almost see this as, and Jay, we're going to get to your question about quality because I've been to the factories a lot, but I almost see it as this is the factory's second wave of quality control. So it's like, I call it the over the road test, Mm-hmm. It's manufactured. You can't pick up an RV in Elkhart. It has to be shipped to a dealership. So during that time going to the dealership, it's bounced across the road. Anything that's not, perfect, a piece of trim that wasn't put in the right place or whatever, is going to pop open during that first ride. And and so since it's under warranty, the factory is actually paying the dealerships full price. Like, it's not like they're just giving them a few bucks to fix stuff. They're paying them their shop rate to fix all these problems, if there are any. And so it's like, how do you justify? Like, that's what I understand. Like, how do dealerships justify these big PDI fees? So yeah, it kind of frustrates me to see that they're doing it. And we're talking like the major chain of RVs is well over $1,400 for this. So, be careful. So that's probably the biggest one. Transportation fee, number 2 there. That one you're going to, I just want to make sure you understand how transportation works. Okay, so I'll be going to Elkhart actually Monday and Tuesday. When I'm there, I'll be seeing all these brand new RVs. Then I see these companies that all they do is transport RVs. They have to take them one at a time. So it's expensive. It's not like a semi where they load 10 on a trailer and head out west. And so every RV that goes to a dealership, so say our friend Wendy's in Minnesota. So she's up there. That RV has to get from the factory to there. So there's a fee. So figure about $2 a mile, just to give you a ballpark. Do the math, like from Elkhart to wherever you are, and you should know. Okay, say it's 1,000 miles to Minnesota. That would be say $2,000 fee to get it there. Somebody's got to pay that. It's the dealership, right? Mm-hmm. And so they either are going to pass that on to you as an extra fee that you know about, hopefully, or they're going to work it into the price of the RV. So say it's a $20,000 RV, now it's $22,000. So if you're comparing an RV from you guys, like RV Wholesalers in Ohio, it would be like $20,000 and $20,350 or something. Whatever the delivery fee is to get it to Ohio versus get it to Minnesota, where it's $22,000. Okay, so that's a fee. You want to check that fee, make sure they're not charging like $5,000 for transportation. So check that. Number two, check, make sure they split that out when you do your final paperwork, because you don't want to pay sales tax on that. Like, you should never have to pay sales tax on the delivery portion, right? So just a little tip, this could save you a few $100 on sales tax. Just make sure they split that out, and just double check their math, because that's an area where a lot of dealerships make up some extra profit. Mm-hmm. Be careful there. Some of these other ones I'll let you read later. I want to keep moving. Environmental fees, tire replacement fees. Sometimes we see like, we brought a new RV to Florida. It needs new tires. Well, the tires are good for 30, 40,000 miles, whatever. They have tire pressure monitoring on them. No need for them to replace them, but they like to replace them sometimes and upsell you with a $1,500 tire package. That's a fee. Maybe it costs them $400 to replace all the tires, but now they, upcharge. So, little things to watch out for. Oh, explain what Doctrine Title is, because that's a fee that everyone pretty much will see, right?
Yeah. So Doctrine Title fees pretty standard across any dealership for car, camper, anything you really buy from any dealership. That being said, it's basically, if you it's a fee to go through documentation. So registering your vehicle for, say, the state of Ohio, which is where our dealership's located. It'll come with a 45-day Ohio registration, or a 45-day Ohio tag, temporary tag, and then an Ohio registration. That's just that a fee to get that done for you. I see on the display there it says $295, which is just ridiculous. I believe ours is $45, so $1 a day for the 45-day temporary tag there, and then the fee to get it done. That being said, I know there's places out there that'll charge a ridiculous amount of money to have that done, when it's just a simple, getting the camper title to go down the road for you, or getting it registered to go down the road for you, just like you would if you bought the car, or a truck. So it's.
Yeah, so watch out. So if you're seeing $500, $600, $700, $800, another area, you need to ask questions. So, cool. Well, that's kind of an overview on the hidden fees. They're not hidden if you know about them and you work it into your budget, and you know that that's the price of the camper is the fee that like the price that they set up front, plus the fees that they say, plus any accessories you want to add on. Or warranties, different things. That's your total out the door price.
Well, and it goes all the way back to out the door pricing. If the dealership's up front with you, they should say, if the camper costs $20,000 and then our fees are $655, and the camper's $20,655. That's out the door pricing. It's up front. Here's the cost. They shouldn't hit at the end of the deal after you're done your walkthrough and everything. Oh, by the way, this is what our fees are. And then it's some outrageous number. They should be 100% upfront with you and tell you everything up front.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big thing, is they should tell you 100% upfront, this is what everything is. They shouldn't surprise you at the end.
Yeah, and that's where you have to decide, okay, do I walk away and look at one of these other dealerships, do I come to RV Wholesalers, that kind of thing. So we're going to talk about quality here, but while we're still on this pricing, there's something new that's been happening this year, and I'm sure you can have some horror stories, but there's these things called price increases, which obviously it's happening all over the board. Everything is going up, you know, cars, you name it, the price of steel, the price of wood, like basically appliances, everything that goes into an RV has gone up. And of course, manufacturers have to be able to keep up with that to sustain their companies. And so that everyone understands that. What we've seen that's been very unusual in this industry is that those price increases. Well, let me explain how the process works. So, say, let me pick on someone here with us today. Say Laverna from Harrisburg is buying an RV. She orders it today, and over the next, say, 2 months while it's being built, she custom orders one from the factory, you know, like through you guys or whoever. While it's being, she puts down her deposit, so the order goes to the factory. The actual dealership doesn't pay the factory for that RV until it comes off the line, so that may be 2 months from now. So what happens in that 2-month window could be a price increase or 2 price increases. The rate we've been seeing, it would not surprise me if there was at least 2 price increases, a couple percentage each. So now, instead of, let's keep with the $20,000 or motorhome or the travel trailer. So now, when that comes off the line, that price, instead of being $20,000, maybe $23,000. So at that point, the dealership has 2 options. Either they can eat the price increase themselves and lose profit, or they can pass that price increase on to the customer. And that's what we're seeing happen, like, pretty much everywhere. Like, which is, it blows my mind, doesn't it, Dalton? Like, what else would you buy, Dalton, that if you didn't know the price of it when it actually arrived and you had to pay the rest of it, so you paid for part of it, put your deposit down, then all of a sudden, like, sorry, the price is now $3,000 more. Like, what? I would never buy something like. But people are doing it, right?
Absolutely. It's just in the past year. A great example. One of the campers I sold last year in November was around $69,000. That same camper is now $84,000. So the price increase is around 48% there, and it's roughly now about 6% a month that we're seeing for the manufacturers. Yeah. So that's where price protection is a huge thing. So, you know, you do the deposit with us and you're locked in with that price. And, you know, you're just saying, hey, that price isn't going to change 1 penny from where you put your deposit. And there's thousands of dealerships out there in the nation that just aren't doing it because they're saying, look, we can't account for, you know, say it's 2-3 months when that camper comes in, there's going to be 18% of price increases on a $20,000 camper. That's like $1,800. Either you pay the $1,800 when it comes in, or we'll cancel your deal. We'll give you your deposit back, and then I'll have a stock camper in. And because the demand's so high, I'll probably have it sold within 2 or 3 days. And that's what they're counting on. Because now that it's in stock, they've already paid for. Just like you mentioned, we don't pay for it until it leaves the factory. I've already paid for it. That price is now locked in, and I could sell it at that price, and there's not going to be any more price increases. So that's what a lot of dealerships are counting on.
Yeah, almost. So make sure, and it's happening on the sales agreement. So number one, make sure you get a sales agreement. I can't tell you how many people I've heard from these sales guys like Dalton that have come in and when the sales guy asks them, like, hey, can you say you got this price? Can you send over the sales agreement? I want to see what they included in that price because it seems really low. And then the customers are saying, well, I put the deposit down, but they just told me what the price is. And we just had a verbal thing. I'm like, well, number one, make sure you get a sales agreement where it's spelled out. So you have all these fees. And then on the last page, what they're doing is they're putting a little clause in. A lot of dealerships, it says something like this. Maybe you can give me some verbiage, but basically to the effect of, this price is subject to factory price increases. Basically, they're going to pass along any factory price increases.
That's almost verbatim what it says on a lot of.
Okay, I know you've seen them, so
Yeah.
I've only heard about them, but I wanted to make sure you guys cross out that line in your sales agreement with when you go to buy one, or find someone like RV Wholesalers where they're price protecting. Just make sure you ask that question. That will save you a lot of money. And the problem is there's no way to prove how much the factory increased the price for that dealership. To be honest, I don't even think the dealerships know exactly how much they're paying. It's not like a car where there's this very regulated invoice sticker price. This is how much the dealer pays. It's really all over the board, because dealerships, based on how many they sell that month or that year, like get rebates. I mean, there's no way you could go back and say, oh, you can't charge me 10% price increases because you only paid 5%. That's where dealerships can, if they're not honest, can pick up extra money. So ask the questions and get stuff in writing. I can't say enough. All right, let's get into quality. Jay's got some great questions. Or Joyce from New Jersey question. There's a lot of talk about quality. There's a lot of talk about quality of the new RVs that are currently coming off the assembly lines. Okay, I can't wait to talk about this, because I went to the factory last week. Yep, a week ago. I'm going Monday, Tuesday next week. The month before that, I was there at least a couple times. I've been to the factory so many times that I don't even remember. I can't even keep track. But that was, and I go in cameras too, and they let me inside. They let me down the lines. I mean, I videotaped stuff because I do a virtual RV show, and our goal is to really see what's going on in this industry, especially now with all the changes. So the last 14 shows, we try to get as much real footage from the factory and the guys down there, and really see. And because that was my biggest concern. It's like, oh my goodness, orders are really picking up. How are they going to keep up these last year and a half or so? And so here's what I found. One, if you go to, it's rural America. It's not, a big urban area where they have robots and building these, it's not like the auto industry at all. It's a very rural farm areas where all these factories are. So these guys are coming in on their, in their buggies and on their bikes, and coming to work, and they've got a lot of these factories like Rockwood and different places in Millersburg, Ohio, and some of these, they have 3 generations of craftsmen. That, I mean, these guys are, Grandpa's still working there 40 years later. His son and his grandson is now working there. I mean, it's really cool. So it's not like they just all of a sudden there's a huge influx of workers and they're running 3 shifts. I'm like, guys, why aren't you running 3 shifts? I thought they'd be just cranking these things out because they have, all the orders. They're not. They're really just focused on, they've kept the order, they kept the one big shift, long shift, 12-hour shift. Sometimes they break that up, but they don't do 3 shifts, and they have really focused. What I thought was cool is they cut back a lot. Instead of having 200 different floor plans, they've cut them back a lot. Haven't you noticed that?
Yep.
They've trimmed them back so that they can focus. And that was my issue 4 years ago when I started going. It's like, oh my goodness, every 2 hours they run another floor plan down the line. I'm like, how do you guys figure out what cabinet door goes on this and that? And, you're changing every couple hours. I still don't understand how they did it back then. But now I'm actually very impressed that they are just focused, multiple days on the same exact product. And I think the quality is going up, to be honest, compared to what it was. So, I mean, like I said, it's not engineered like a car. So that's why you want to make sure you have a good, extended service contract and a good service department. Make sure you're comfortable and ask the question. We'll talk about that later, but make sure you are very comfortable with the people you're buying from, that they have a service network and a department that can take care of you, because it is a house on wheels. I mean, it's traditionally built. And so check on that. Real quick, if you're just getting into RVing, there's basically 2 types of construction. So conventional construction on the left, you want to explain what that is?
Basically wood framing with old school, just insulation with tin on the outside. It's tried, true, and tested. It's been around for a super long amount of time, but it's heavy. So for even a smaller trailer, it's very heavy just because of the way it's built. But they're sturdy campers, but they're heavy and they're just an old design. But I'm not going to knock them. They're very
a little better on the budget too.
Yeah, they're a lot better on the budget just because they're cheaper made for the way they're construction. They're nice. They're very nice camper. Whereas on the right hand side you have aluminum cage, so they're very very lighter. You can get a lot bigger and still stay under a certain weight limit for older truck. Yep, he's got a
yes, it's welded aluminum tubes. Yep. It's like aluminum tubes that are welded together to create the frame. That's the roof there, but the walls, same thing.
Foam boarding instructions, or foam boarding insulation, excuse me. So the insulation is still just as high quality, if not a little bit better, a little bit higher R value. So you get a little bit better insulation as well as just a little bit lighter. So that, again, they're keeping the camper light so they can get a little bit bigger with it. And then laminate on the outside. So instead of the corrugated tin style, it's a smooth-sided camper, so it's a little bit easier to clean. And it just looks a little bit, depending on who you ask, it looks a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been at the factory. I did this with the factory guy. I'm like, he just went up and just like slammed slammed that wall as hard as he could, like the middle of a wall. I'm like, oh. So he let me do it too. I'm like, okay, if the factory says, I'm fine with that. So I hit that thing. It didn't even dent or nothing. I mean, it's like, it's a tight construction. So yeah, I mean, they both have benefits and pros and cons. A little more expensive, but if you're banging it around a lot, we're going to be doing a lot of driving up in Alaska or wherever. That's the kind of thing you want to make sure you make that decision. So that's one of the decisions. I like to think. I like to keep it simple. There's hundreds and hundreds of different brands, and I mean, it gets kind of complicated. Honestly, what I found is like Lippert Components Company, they build like 70% of all the parts. So the chassis, electronics, everything, like 70% of everything in every brand, everything kind of comes through one company. So there's not a lot of difference, honestly, between brands. So, it comes down to some quality stuff, that you want to, and comfort, more like what you want. And a lot of companies make this, they may make for one dealership a brand called, like Salem, and then another one, it might be called Wildwood, like two names for the same exact trailer. So there's a lot of that. And that's basically just so you can't compare apples to apples very easily. It's like, you don't know, like, oh, that's the exact same trailer. So don't focus on that. Like, I want you guys to focus on, what type of construction you want. And I want you to focus on the floor plan, like what floor plan works for your family. After you figured out like towing capacity and whether you need a motorhome or a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, something, one of those, all under the RV umbrella. I used to think RVs meant motorhomes, but that's what we call the whole umbrella. And then you have motorhomes and travel trailers, and then you have different types of travel trailers. Then you have two types of construction. So figure that out. Figure out your weight capacity, what your truck can tow. Actually, I'll put that in here. Towingcalculator.org, calculator.org, and you can find out what your vehicle can tow, or if you're going to buy a vehicle to tow what you want to have. Figure that out. And then, just figure out your layout, what fits for your family. Do you need a bunkhouse? Do you want the kitchen in the front or the back? That kind of stuff. Do you need an extra bathroom off the outside, or whatever your needs are? And just don't get hung up on it all. It's really not as complicated. People like Dalton will just kind of walk you through those questions and then present you a number of different options. Not too many, because man, it can get overwhelming. Then you stall. If you're like me, it's like, whoa, overwhelmed. Then you get paralysis, and now's not a good time to get paralysis because prices are going up. They're not leveling off anytime soon. And then what I'm afraid is, as the backlog keeps getting bigger, you're not going to get to camp, even next summer, if you don't be careful. So now is really the time when you say, Dalton, if you want to be ready and have the perfect one that fits you. What I do see a lot of people doing is like, what the heck? I'm just going to go spend, an extra 10 grand and get something on the lot today that's brand new, that, I can do that. I know when we went out to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I brought this picture. This is my family. We went whitewater rafting. Well, I couldn't take an RV this time. Wasn't available from RV Wholesalers to take one out there. And so we just ended up, we got to do all the nature stuff, whitewater rafting, all that kind of stuff. And we just rented, a place in the hills in a resort type of thing. And that's what you have to do sometimes to save. Why waste $10,000 to get one today so I can go on that 1 week camping trip next week? Why not just rent an RV or do what I did? Just, stay in a state park area, a national park area, and do all the stuff you would normally do. In fact, next week we're going to Jellystone campground, and we're going to have to stay in a cabin just because we don't have our RV yet. And no big deal. Yeah, we can do it for a couple times this summer and then have the perfect one coming up. So what I'm saying is wait to save. I mean, we're not talking just $10,000. It could be $20,000, $30,000, depending on what you're thinking about getting. So definitely check out, and we'll talk more. I know this isn't about sales, but equipping these people, but Dalton will hook you up as far as being able to talk about RV wholesalers and what they do. But Jay has a question. Can you talk about this? So if she buys a used one, how do we transact a private sale? I'm wondering if I need to register it before I pick it up. Do I need insurance to drive it home? Should I even drive it home? And it said she's had the inspector clear it. So I'm glad that you got it inspected. That was one thing I was going to present here. Make sure if you're buying used, get a third-party inspector. I threw out a couple names here, nrvia.org and lemonsquad.org, .com. And I'll put that in the email I send you in a couple hours. Just a good idea. Water damage is a big thing. If they don't have things sealed on the roof or the slide seals that water gets in, it kind of doesn't look, it looks nice, but then when you walk on it, it's spongy or different things, and it's just a nightmare. It ends up being totaled a lot of times, and you don't even know it. So, yeah, good idea to get an inspector, $300-400, money well spent. So, yeah, check that out. What do you think about this question though? Like, when she gets by it, do you know some of the details? I'm not sure which state, but
so if you having it registered before you pick it up, I would have it registered. If not before you pick it up, at least soon after you pick it up. I assume that's for a private sale.
Yeah, check with New Jersey. I know in Ohio, like there's a grace period of so many hours to pay.
Yeah.
It's like 24 hours, 48 hours. There is a grace period, and as long as you have the paperwork showing a bill of sale, you have a certain amount of grace period. So you should be okay, right?
Yeah.
Check that. Vehicles up in Maine, so
you still may have a time period that you can go pick up the vehicle, drive it home, and be okay. Because I mean, even if you still pick it up and you have the bill of sale, and say you do get stopped by somebody, they say, hey, I just bought the vehicle, I haven't had a chance to register yet, because when you bought it in a different state and you want to register it in New Jersey, that kind of deal there, they should be, unless they're having a bad day, they should be completely okay with it. But I mean, every situation is a little different.
Yeah.
That being said, insurance, I would always recommend having insurance on any vehicle you're driving down the road, just because you never know what's going to happen. And then should you drive it home? It depends on what kind of shape it's in. That's where, having an inspector on a private sale is probably a great thing. Make sure the vehicle's safe. I would say that if it's safe to go down the road and everything's, on the up and up, I would say you're fine. If you're a new driver, so if you're not comfortable with it, have a third party towing company tow it home for you. Then that's entirely up to you. If you're not comfortable with towing it that far or driving it that far, you can always have somebody do it for you. You can get like a company called U-Ship. They'll go pick it up for you. That's not a huge deal. And then you can just register it when you get it back. Still have insurance on it though, just in case something does happen.
What was that again? U-Ship?
Yeah, uship.com.
Cool.
Yep, just good. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes new versus used. I know you really got to do your homework, because sometimes, like when I took a brand new Wildwood to Jellystone, there's a couple that came in and they camped right beside us, and they had the same floor plan, same everything, same size trailer. They came over, Chris and Christy, and they were looking at the new Wildwood, and like, oh, this is perfect. This is just like ours. Like, love it. And they said, we bought ours 3 years ago, used. It was 4 years old. We bought it 3 years ago. We paid $16,000 for it. How much is this new one? I felt really bad. I was like $15,500. And theirs was, they bought it 3 years ago, 5 years old or 4 years old. So, anyways, I just say that make sure you check the new stuff, because you don't have to inherit any problems, and you get the warranty, and you also get all the latest bells and whistles. And I mean, right now 2022s are rolling off the line, so they have them for a few weeks, so pretty cool. All right, enough about that, and we already talked about that. And that's not your name. Here you go, Dalton. If they have questions, do you mind if they just reach out directly? Your information, extension 153, the 877-877-4494. Owen at rvwholesalers.com. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, and if you're thinking about selling in a motor home or a travel trailer and you have questions, he also has books that have prices, or like he can help you through this. I mean, whatever you need. Wouldn't you say like they should probably just sell it themselves, right?
In this current market, if you to make the most out of your camper, if you want to sell it in or trade it in this current market, it's always better to sell it privately, because you can make more money out of it. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from trading it in, because you might get a better deal,
and you'll make more money. But you'll make a commission. So,
but I mean, if you want to call in, I'm 100% honest with everybody, so I will help you in any way I can. So every situation is a little bit different, so I'll help you. Like I said, in any way I can, give me a call and I'll do what I can to help you. Every situation is a little bit different, and just like with the new and used, if you go look at a used camper and you're like, hey, this guy's saying he wants $20,000, is it worth that? I'll just tell you, hey, this thing's only worth 18. Don't offer more than that. So even in that same situation there, so feel free to call me. I'll do what I can to help you.
And what are some places they could list it if they're selling it themselves? That you
Craigslist is a big one in my area. I don't know if I assume it's in the rest of the country. Facebook Marketplace is always a big one.
Yeah, that is
people's always on Facebook Marketplace. RV Trader is a good one to get on there.
RVTrader.com. It's what? Maybe it costs a little bit, but it's it's a national reach. So and don't be afraid, like on Facebook Marketplace, when you advertise, like people are going to come probably multiple states. Like you'll have a lot of action most likely. And don't be afraid to list it beyond just your little community there. So
I've heard people put them on there to have it sold within 2-3 days. So
yeah, nice.
It's the used market right now is crazy. So
yeah, so we just answered get the most for your trade. Number 7, you'll want to know the big dealer financing secret. This, I'm telling you, is going to save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Thankfully, I learned this a few years ago, because I had no idea until the finance guys at RV Wholesalers told me this. I did not know. I mean, it makes sense. Like, why did I not realize what's going on here? But can you tell us what's going on between banks and the dealership, kind of behind the scenes, that is a big dealer finance secret?
So basically what happens is when you bring a customer to a bank, the bank always gives money to the dealership. Basically saying, hey, thanks for bringing so-and-so to us as a customer. Here's X amount of money for that deal. And the dealership's always pocketed that money. Is that what you're referring to there, too?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. So the bank is paying a dealership basically like a commission. I don't call it a kickback, but it's legal. But the commission from the bank really to the dealership saying, hey, thank you for writing this paper, doing the homework, whatever, to get this loan through. And their way of thanking the dealership is giving them money.
So like say I have a customer. His name's Danny, and he bought a Wildwood from me, and I took him to the bank. The bank's like, "Hey, thanks for bringing Danny to us. Here's $3,000."
Yeah, we're not talking just like $300, folks. Like,
yeah, it's
how big was that loan that you're talking about?
Probably $30,000.
Okay, so $3,000 on $30,000. Think if that was a motorhome, $100,000, that could be $6,000 to $10,000. There's a lot of money that's going back to the dealership that they're making on you guys when you do your financing.
Yep.
And it happens too. Like, even if you go through your credit union, the credit union's getting that money from the big bank that's taking the note. So, I mean, I had no idea this was happening. In fact, I just talked to a friend of mine last night. He's like, "Hey," and he knew about this. And he's like, and he was showing me his new car. I'm like, "How much dealer reserve did you get back?" He's like, "Oh yeah, like it's not quite the same in cars as it is in motorhomes, but I was able to get $1,500 back when I told him about it." I mean, just knowing this, and half the time the salespeople at these car dealerships or these motorsports, boat places, wherever you're buying that's financing, a lot of sales guys don't even know this is happening. But make sure you talk to the manager or finance manager. They'll know when you pull out the word, what do we call it? Dealer reserve or what? Yeah, what is?
They call it a lot of different things, dealer reserve or finance kickback. There's a lot of different names for it.
Just bring it up. It's definitely worth bringing up. Man, that's crazy. So
yeah,
if I can get off there, but
our RV Wholesalers gives it back to you is what we do.
Yeah, let me tell why. I just heard David Durnell tell me this. In fact, I had it on video, and I was going to actually play it. But yeah, so you can't. I mean, that's David Durnell, the owner of RV Wholesalers. I just taped this last week with him. He told how when they started RV Wholesalers 24 years ago, he said that him and his brother all of a sudden got a check in the mail from the bank. And they looked at it like, what did we screw up? Like, why did they send us money back? Like, they couldn't figure it out. So they called the bank. They said, "Hey, I thought we had done the paperwork right. Why are we getting this check?" And then that's when they explained to him, "Oh, that's a dealer reserve." And then David went on to say that was early on how they learned, like, why should we keep money that is really rightfully the person that's purchasing this? They're the one paying the interest. Why? That's not really rightfully ours. We've already got our profit margin built into our sale, and we're able to take care of all the employees and the overhead. So why not just give this back to the customer? And that's, what do you call that? The
finance discount.
Finance discount. Okay.
Yep.
You just basically take that money instead of, so if they do finance with you, you take that money, give it back to them as a discount or rebate, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Cool. And some of you are probably thinking, well, what if I pay cash? I know it's like, you think, I can get a better deal if I pay cash. It's like, a lot of times, the price goes down a little bit if you're, pulling out cash, writing a check. In this case, it's actually the opposite, because you guys, dealerships make money when the financing happens from the bank. So cash doesn't really help at all. It doesn't get you any of that. So what you can do, though, right? I'll explain it real quick. So the agreement with the bank is after 12 months, the dealership gets this reserve money. And that, but basically what they do is, if you want to pay cash, you just put down as much as you can on that very first payment, right? So you pay everything, pay it all off except for the minimum payment for the next 11 months. And then you take those 11 months and it's simple interest. So you have hardly any interest payments, because all of it the principal almost was all paid off at the beginning. So there's just a little bit left. It may be $150, $200 you're throwing away, but you're able to get that, in your case, $3,000, $10,000 back as a finance discount. So yeah, you have to have a loan open for 12 months. It's after 1 month, it's pretty much paid off, and it's worth the, I don't like to waste money on interest either, but this is one case where you can really save a lot of money. So that's just the way to do it legally, and it's all in the bank agreements, and not a big deal. All right. Cheryl asked, like the complexity of kind of figuring out online, like how do you figure out what models to look at? That's something where Dalton, could you just reach out to her? I want to keep moving on some warranty stuff, but
Yeah.
if you guys connect, and I'll put your phone number back up here in a second. But he can just walk you through that process. And at rvwholesalers.com, that website, there's a build your own, and that's a tool too where you can kind of pick your features. You kind of start with what type and brand, and then you kind of work your way down. So, but yeah, it's probably easiest just to work with someone that's going to have your best interest in mind.
Absolutely. We could just, you tell me exactly what you're looking for on the phone, and I can shoot you a couple emails, and that way
because isn't it easy to get overwhelmed? Like
it can be.
I mean, you're a professional, and I'm sure you're overwhelmed. I can't imagine what people just walking in for the first time, like, whoa, where do I start? So that's kind of what this webinar is all about. Talking about service and extended service contracts. That's a big deal. I know the question for you a lot is like, how in the world? Okay, so you're in Ohio. Most of your RVs that you guys sell, thousands all over the country. More of them are probably, well, I know more of them are sold outside of Ohio than are in Ohio. So big question, and I hear people asking, you're probably asking this too, like, how do you guys service when, say I'm like, I'm up in New Jersey, like a friend here.
Okay.
So Joyce is in New Jersey. How do I get service? Yeah, if I buy up here.
So we have over 2,700 service locations that are contracted to work through us. So basically, say Jay there in New Jersey, he bought a camper. Yeah, he bought a camper through us, and his air conditioner goes out. Obviously he's in New Jersey. He doesn't want to have to tow it all the way back to the dealership here in Ohio. Basically what he would do is he would call into the warranty department. The warranty department deals with out-of-state customers there. And he would say, hey, my air conditioner went out. Where do I take this in to get it fixed? My zip code is 45334, and I'd really like this thing fixed. The warranty department then would get a hold of one of the people that's in a service network there that's close to his zip code where he currently is. They'd make the appointment for him, say, hey, Jay's with RV Wholesaler. His camper's, a Wildwood 178 VHSK. His air conditioner went out. This is what his issue is. That shop would then say we have availability on Friday at 8, and then all he has to do is show up at the shop, and or if they have a mobile rep, they come out to him and get it fixed. And that's basically how it works.
Actually, I think that works better. I mean, okay, so say I'm up in Cleveland where I live, and I buy an RV in my town here. The crazy thing is, like, I never go camping in my town. Like, I'm always, like, I'm either in Tennessee, like you saw me in Gatlinburg, or I'm up in Michigan, or, like, and that's according to Murphy's Law, right? That's when it's going to break down. It's not going to break down in Cleveland, Ohio, in my yard. It's going to break down when I'm out traveling. That's when my air conditioners go out. And then I know David the owner just went on a 2-week trip out west, and that's what he was saying. Like, one of the RVs that went with him was his uncle's, and I don't even think he bought it from RV Wholesalers. It was just, and it kept breaking or whatever. And so they were having to use that network to fix it because they were calling local guys out of the network that they were like, oh, that'll be 12 weeks. We can get you in here. Like, I'm on vacation, sir. Like, how am I supposed to wait 12 weeks to get this thing into your dealership? So it is important. So make sure you really know how that network works. And that's really cool what you guys have, the nationwide service network.
Yeah, and a lot of dealerships out there, say if you do buy local in Cleveland there, they'll tell you you just got to bring it. Whenever you get back from vacation, let us know. You can bring it into us, and we'll get it fixed. Yeah. And that's basically what they tell you. It's not like a Ford car. You could take it to any Ford dealership and get it fixed. They'll just tell you didn't buy it from us, so we'll get to you in 12 weeks or 12 months, whenever our availability is. And that's basically how the camping industry, how the dealership industry works is you didn't buy it from us, so either take it back to where you bought it from, or we'll get to it when you get to it. But our nationwide service network is, hey, you bought through RV Wholesalers. RV Wholesalers makes the appointment for you, and then all you got to do is show up.
Yeah.
So,
Real quick, extended service contracts. The last thing I want to cover. So that's, do you need them or not? Like, as a kid, my dad taught me, like, just say no. Like, don't waste your money on the $10 upgrade at the Walmart checkout, for the electronics. But after I started camping, though, I've noticed, like, oh my goodness, like, these things are really getting beat down the road.
mm-hmm.
It's not the camper's fault; it's the road fault. But
yeah,
and you think about it, it's like, oh, I guess I can't just go into Home Depot and buy a new fridge for this thing. This thing runs on propane or runs on 12-volt solar and all this stuff. Like, that's not a cheap thing. That's thousands of dollars instead of something you can just run down and pick up on sale.
right.
So that's when I realized, like,
so
that really makes sense. What do you think?
Extended service contracts have their pros. For instance, like there's a warranty out there on campers that the 1-year warranty from all the manufacturers is a limited warranty, so it doesn't cover everything.
Limited. Like, did you read that thing that they sent around to all the RV wholesalers, dealers, or sales guys? And it was like highlighted, like all
yeah. That's exactly what I'm referencing. So
look out.
Basically, so if your camper has a slide on it, there's a rubber seal that goes around that slide, and basically in the highlighted section there that he's referencing, that slide is not covered day one. As soon as it leaves the lot, it is no longer covered by the manufacturer's warranty. And so, say one of the extended service contracts may cover that seal for 5 years. So, do they have their benefits? Absolutely. But I mean, they cost you more money. So they have their pros. The con is it just costs you more money. I
want to make sure you guys understand what type to ask for, not what brand, because there's a lot of different brands. But there's basically two types of service contracts. So one is stated. That a stated coverage, basically it lists out everything that's covered on that RV. So in very detail. If it's not on the list, it's not covered. The problem with the stated, though, is if something's on the list and something goes bad that's not covered, say an inverter is not covered, but it goes bad, but it damages the fridge, which the fridge is covered. It takes out the fridge, then the fridge isn't covered because it was damaged by something that wasn't covered. So, I mean, there's a lot of kind of loopholes. That's why I like it's a little bit cheaper sometimes. Actually, some of the Good Sam ones and stuff, they're almost the same as the opposite. So the opposite is what I call exclusionary coverage. So it's kind of the backwards. Instead of it being stated, it's the whole camper, every single thing is covered, excluding these items. So excluding the brake pads, a lot of wear and tear stuff. That's what you'll see on the exclusionary list, exclusionary coverage. That's your best coverage. That's the one that really pays the bill. So if you can afford to do that one, and a lot of times it's not that much more, even if it is more, but it's the one that pays the bill. So like, well, do I want something that might work or not? If you can afford it, and if it makes sense for you. I mean, if you're driving a park model and you're just taking it one time a year to a campground and leaving it, you might not even need it. But this is a brand called Protective. I know you guys sell a number of different brands. That's just one. Just make sure you do the homework. Like it should be an A+ rated. It's kind of like insurance. Make sure your extended coverage is A+ rated. You want to get a good one that pays bills, right? So so that's the one to watch out for is the warranty forever, or like the lifetime warranty. That is a scam. Like run from that one, right?
Yep. Lifetime warranties are basically meaning, you bought from my dealership here in Lakeview, and a lifetime warranty means you have to bring it back to my dealership, period, if anything breaks, and then I'll fix it.
Yeah, and you have to bring it back every year or the whole thing's void. So you have to bring it back, spend money to get it serviced, the seals or whatever
checked out. Yep.
And then and when the guys when I was at a big dealer only conference, they came running up to me like, "Oh yeah, you need to get this for your dealership." And I was with the RV Wholesalers guys, and they're like, the reason is because you'll average, and this was like 5 years ago, $900, $900 to $1,000 every year on extra maintenance things that you'll have to do for this camper because it comes in every year. So you'll get guaranteed, like every camper on average, we're seeing $900 of extra income. So I mean, yeah, that's when my little BS detectors went on.
Yep.
But anyways, good questions. Very good. So that's about, here's your contact information. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. In fact, take a picture of this screen, not to get a picture of us, but to get his contact information. The first person that emails Dalton that ends up buying an RV the next day or two, if it makes sense for Dalton to help you into an RV, he's going to be able to give you $500 off the delivery of that RV. So if you're, no matter what state you're in, it'll basically be a credit to the first person that emails Dalton, and just put in the subject like 500 or write that in there somewhere so he knows what you're talking about. But yeah, email Dalton any questions. He'll be glad to help you, even if you're, buying a used one, and you're, whatever. Like, we're here to help. This is all about helping you guys, and we know we can't sell thousands of RVs. We can only sell so many. So I'm glad to help. So tell me what your dream RV location destination is. Mine is to get up to this little Mount Rushmore here, and so I'll hang out and chat for a couple more minutes while we say goodbye here. But thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks, Dalton. It's good having your expertise on board. I appreciate it. Good times, and have a great week, everybody, and happy camping soon.
See ya.